Good evening and welcome to this evening's webinar on how to apply for Scottish apprenticeships. My name is Claire Owens and I'm joined tonight by my colleague Lynn McClelland. We're pleased to have so many of you joining us tonight. We work for Skills Development Scotland, or SDS as you may have know us. SDS is the National Skills Agency for Scotland and we play a critical role in the development of Scotland's apprenticeships. As a parent or carer, you have a key influence in your young person's life and decision making, and we are really looking forward to sharing some information and resources with you. This information will hopefully give you a good overview of Scottish apprenticeships, how to search and apply for apprenticeship opportunities, advice on writing CVs, and interview techniques. Tonight, we'll give you information including useful websites as well as contact details should you wish to get in touch or find out more about apprenticeships or any of our services. But please don't worry about taking notes on any of this. We'll send all the information to you in an email after the session. Before we get started, I need to let you know that our session tonight is being recorded for anyone who can't make it. This will be available if you want to watch it again, and the link to do so will be sent to you afterwards. We can't see or hear you, so if you'd like to ask a question or make any comments, please use the Q&A box in the right-hand side of your screen. Any questions raised tonight will be included in our follow-up guide that will be issued with a link to the recording. This webinar will talk you through how to search and apply for apprenticeships, share CV and interview tips, and will let you hear firsthand from an employer, an apprentice, and lots more information on the application journey. If you have any specific questions, you can get further information via your school's careers advisor, in school or through our helpline on 0800 917 8000. Let me quickly run through the format for this evening. You will hear from some information around what Scottish apprenticeship programmes are, what is available, and how do they work. We will then do a walkthrough of our website, apprenticeships.scot, highlighting where you can find vacancies and how to register for vacancy alerts. We will then have a panel discussion with an SDS careers advisor, an employer, and a couple of apprentices talking about their experiences on the apprenticeship process, from applying to interview to getting the job. We will then take some time to go over some frequently asked questions. Remember, if you have a question on something that we haven't addressed, please use the Q&A box on the right-hand side of your screen, and we will include them in our follow-up guide that will be issued following the call with a link to the recording. Before we start, can I please check that everyone has their cameras and mics turned off? Thank you. So in Scotland, there are 3 types of apprenticeships: foundation, modern and graduate. In this session, we will discuss these in more detail and how work-based learning can open the door to a wide range of careers. Apprenticeships are developed in conjunction with employers to meet current and future skills demand in Scotland. Today, there are around 43,000 people in apprenticeships and work-based learning opportunities, with 12,000 apprentice employers. Apprenticeships are for everyone. Diverse opportunities exist from school age and beyond across a wide range of sectors, from childcare, broadcast journalism, accountancy to software development. All of these lead to industry-recognised qualifications with good progression opportunities to advance skills and career aspirations. We're pleased to see our apprentices are from a range of backgrounds and circumstances, including individuals with disabilities, those with experience of care, and ethnic minorities. I thought it would be quite useful to explain an apprenticeship qualification and how it is the equivalent to some of the qualifications you will be familiar with, such as National 4 and National 5, higher, and all the way up to degree level. This diagram may look a bit daunting, so let me explain. The diagram is called the Scottish Credit and Qualifications Framework. You may have heard it referred to as SCQF. This provides an overview of all the qualifications you can gain in Scotland, ranging from level 1 to level 12. The SCQF highlights that you can gain the same level of qualification in different learning environments. For example, if we look here on the screen at SCQF level 6, this can be achieved by undertaking a higher in school or a national certificate in college, or as a foundation apprenticeship in school, or a modern apprenticeship in the workplace. It also shows how you can begin learning in one environment and use that qualification to support you into another. The last column shows how apprenticeship qualifications are comparable to other qualifications from SCQF level 5 through to level 12. I'm now going to talk to you about the features of foundation apprenticeships. Now, foundation apprenticeships are for senior phase school pupils in full-time education. Foundation apprenticeships will gain skills employers need, learn about their chosen industry, and achieve a work-based learning qualification. The foundation apprenticeship is chosen as a school subject over 1 or 2 years. Foundation apprenticeships are currently available in subjects that support key growth sectors, including engineering, IT, scientific technologies, and social services and healthcare. Apprentices develop meta skills such as communication, team working, and problem solving. Completion leads to a nationally recognised qualification at Scottish Credit and Qualifications Framework, SCQF, Level 6. We're also piloting some SCQF Level 4 and Level 5 foundation apprenticeships in automotive, construction, and hospitality in some local authorities in Scotland. A foundation apprenticeship can help with progression onto a modern or a graduate apprenticeship. The foundation apprenticeship at SCQF Level 6 is the same level as a Scottish Higher and is recognised by all colleges and universities in Scotland for entry into their further and higher education courses. A foundation apprenticeship can help with progression onto a modern or graduate apprenticeship. Modern and graduate apprenticeships are similar in that they are both employed status work-based learning programmes. They allow people to work, earn and learn while being directly employed in an organisation. Anyone who has reached or is about to reach the statutory school leaving age in Scotland can apply to become a modern or graduate apprentice, and they are open to new or existing employees. Any employer in Scotland seeking to widen their talent pool and address skills gaps can recruit a modern or graduate apprentice. Apprentices spend most of their time learning in the workplace, although some may also undertake formal learning off the job, which is supported by a provider, such as a college. Apprentices will develop meta skills sought by employers. There are over 100 types of modern apprenticeship from SCQF Level 5 right up to Level 12, across a wide range of industries. Depending on the subject, the apprenticeship can take up to 4 years to complete. Graduate apprenticeships are a way for individuals to achieve an ordinary or a master's degree. They are offered in key sectors that need highly skilled employees with qualifications at SCQF levels 9 to 11. Depending on the subject, the apprenticeship can take between 2 and 5 years to complete. Apprenticeships bring many benefits to individuals, employers, and the economy of Scotland. Apprentices develop crucial meta skills, building the skills for life and work to adapt to change throughout their careers. Apprenticeships also benefit employers in Scotland's economy. Employers benefit from increased productivity as they equip their workforce with the skills they need now and for the future. The apprenticeship system is responsive to the changing nature of jobs and industries, ensuring the future broader needs of the economy are considered. You've heard lots about our Scottish apprenticeships so far, so it's a good time now to give you a quick walkthrough of our website, apprenticeship.scot, which gives more information on where to find more information on the apprenticeship types and how to apply.
Our website, apprenticeships.scot, has lots of information and support regarding apprenticeships. Let me show you some of the useful information and features available. If you click on the Apprentice tab at the top of the page, you will see all the apprenticeship programs listed: Foundation Apprenticeships, Modern Apprenticeships, and Graduate Apprenticeships. Let's select Foundation Apprenticeships. This takes you to the Foundation Apprenticeship page, where you'll find out more about how young people can get involved in the programme. When you scroll down the page, there's a search function. You can use this to find out what foundation apprenticeship subjects are available at your young person's school, either over 1 or 2 years duration. Select their school and the school year they're due to start and click on Search. You can then select up to 3 subject areas Then click Next to submit your contact details. I'll select Engineering, Financial Services and Social Services and Healthcare, and I'd then press Next. Every young person will be contacted by the learning provider with more information on the programme, as well as their school careers advisor who can provide additional guidance. Let's go back now. There's also a tool you can use to find out where a foundation apprenticeship can take a young person, whether that be into college, university, or further apprenticeship opportunities. Further down this page, information can be accessed on each foundation apprenticeship subject area and what the qualification consists of. But for now, I'm going to go back up to the toolbar to run through modern apprenticeships. Clicking here on Modern Apprenticeships takes you to the Modern Apprenticeship page where you'll find out more about how individuals can get involved in the programme. You can use the search function to find live Modern Apprentice vacancies by postcode or by town. There's also a vacancy alert function that you can sign up to get the latest Modern Apprenticeship vacancies. Now let's go back and look at the Graduate Apprenticeship section. Clicking here on Graduate Apprenticeships will take you to the Graduate Apprenticeship page where you'll find out more about how individuals can get involved in this programme. You can use the search function here to find live Graduate Apprentice vacancies by postcode or by town. Further down the page, under Types of Graduate Apprenticeships, you can find information on each graduate apprenticeship subject area and what the qualification consists of. Now let's look at exploring different frameworks in more detail and what the apprenticeship qualification looks like. I'll select the Explore Frameworks tab. In this section, you have the option of exploring frameworks by entering a job title or subject area in the search bar. You also have the option to select from the left-hand menu bar in terms of what apprenticeship programme you're interested in, such as Foundation Apprenticeship, Modern Apprenticeship or Graduate Apprenticeship. Let's select the Modern Apprenticeship in Accounting. This gives you information on what the qualification entails and the entry requirements. If you want to search for other frameworks or for foundation and graduate apprenticeship qualifications, then just revisit this search function in the same way. Let's go back now to the main Apprenticeships tab. In this section, there's also a tab I can select called Apprentice Stories. You can click in here and hear stories from current and past apprentices talking about their own journeys. At the top of every page, there's also a Help button. If I click on it, it will take you to frequently asked questions. So that was a short run through of some of the useful information and features available on apprenticeships.scot. I'd recommend you look through the website with your young person together.
I hope you found that walkthrough helpful. It's worth pointing out, though, that looking for an apprenticeship is similar to looking for a job. You might find them in different places, training providers' websites, employer websites, and job search engines, but apprenticeship.scot is a really strong place to start. We're now going to open up the discussion with our panel members this evening. Before we begin, I would like to introduce you to some of the panel members who are on the call tonight. Firstly, my colleague Carrie Stewart, who is a careers advisor with SDS and works in the Dunfermline area, working in both a mainstream and residential school. Mainly working with senior phase pupils, but also delivering career management skill group works from S1 to S4. A very warm welcome indeed to Louisa Russell, an early careers manager at Drax Group. Louisa's role involves determining the strategy for developing their early careers talent, including work experience students, interns, graduates and apprentices. Danielle Nicholson, a modern apprentice at Drax, is studying engineering as a mechanical technician and is due to complete in August of this year. And finally, Sophie Spears, currently doing a modern apprentice in digital marketing with Visit Scotland and is due to complete her apprenticeship in September. Good evening, everyone. I see you've all switched on your camera so we can see your lovely faces. That's absolutely brilliant. It's amazing to have you all on the panel tonight to talk about applying for an apprenticeship. Firstly, I'd like to start off with Carrie, if I may. As a careers advisor, Carrie, we all know applying for apprenticeships, it can be quite competitive and quite daunting actually to our individuals on the call listening tonight. Is there anything that you would recommend that an individual can do to stand out?
Yeah, thank you so much everyone for coming along tonight. It's great to see so many people on. Yeah, so about making yourself stand out. So you're so right, it can feel quite daunting. I think especially sometimes for some of our school pupils who are leaving school and maybe don't have lots of work experience, things like that. So it's really about thinking about if you do have work experience, make sure and include that on your application or on your CV. Think about your hobbies and interests because there are lots of skills and strengths that come from these sorts of things. So when you look at if you are, if you're into something like Warhammer, then you would probably have quite good attention to detail. You'd probably be somebody who is quite artistic. You play football for one of the teams around you, then you're going to have dedication. You're going to be physically fit. You're going to have quite good attendance, I would say, because I don't see many of the people that I know that are in football clubs or things like that not going to games. Think about your interests, and it's anything you can do that just shows that you are a real person. Because when these people are reading these applications, they they want to find someone that fits. So it's just you have to show them. So make sure and mention anything that's relevant. Think
Hmm.
about how you fit with a post, because if you don't mention all your wonderful skills, and I think it is a very, I don't know if it's a British thing or a everyone thing or a Scottish thing, but it's very difficult to kind of toot your own horn. So sometimes it's worth having that conversation with people who know you well. Because I know for myself, if someone says, "What are you good at?" the first thing you want to say is nothing, because you think somebody's going to jump round and say, no, you aren't. You're not good at something if you say you are. So sometimes speaking to your friends, to your family, and saying, what would you say I'm good at? They can, if they're taking it seriously and they're not being silly, then you tend to get a lot better answers than you would say about yourself. Okay? Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Carrie. So, considering what you've said, how important would you say a CV is, and
Uh-huh.
what key things should you consider putting in it?
Yeah, so CV, super important, because this is your opportunity to sell yourself, and this is your opportunity to tell the employer about you. So a CV is a really good way to do that, because it's got a lovely format, and there's a way, there's things that you include, your contact details, your name, how they can get in touch with you. Then you've also got your personal profile. That's where you kind of share your personal qualities and why you would be a good fit for the job. You're also linking in your skills and your strengths and what you're good at, and you're talking about any work history you've got in anything school wise. What qualifications do you have? Were you a prefect? Were you part of the leadership team? Anything like that. So it's worth putting all that in there and showing who you are, because otherwise they don't know. So this is your opportunity. And now if everyone didn't do a CV, then they would be, if someone had written a 3-page essay about why they should be hired and someone else had it lovely and succinctly put on a CV, they're more likely to read the CV, because it's showing everything in a nice manner. It's easy to read, making sure you've got quite a good size as well. I think just thinking about all these sorts of things, make sure it's easy to read, because if they have to go and grab their glasses when they've got a pile of 200 CVs, they might not. So you don't want to put them in that position where your amazing application is missed out on because they can't they can't read it.
So, considering that, then, would you say 3 pages? You talked about a 3-page essay there.
Ah,
Would you say? I'm just about thinking, what is the perfect length? Would you say for a
yeah.
CV?
So not 3 pages. So I would say your CV at the very most, no matter what age you are, is 2 pages at the very most. And I would say for a lot of our school leavers, I think a 1-page CV tends to be a normal size. Once you've got more work experience, once you've got, maybe if you've been to college, if you've done another apprenticeship, if you've got jobs, part-time, full-time, whatever, it might go on to that 2 pages. Don't feel worried about it going on to the 2 pages if you've got enough to put in there. As you go through your career and through your life, you start to remove the things that aren't as relevant. And it's worth remembering as well, no matter what size your CV is, less than 2 pages, no matter what size it is, it's not static. It's not staying the same. You should change your CV for no matter what job you're applying for, because it should fit with what you're applying for, and it should make them think, this person has sat and written this CV for me. They shouldn't be looking at it going, they've bunged that into absolutely everybody, and they're not really taking the time over it. They want to feel, you know, want to feel a bit special. They want to feel like you really want to work for them. So, show that. So you might have a 3-page CV that has everything on it, but that's not the CV you send out. You remove bits that aren't as relevant and you tailor it based on what you want to show to the employer that you're applying for.
Thanks, Carrie. That's great. Louisa, if I can come to you now. As an apprentice employer, you have the daunting task of sifting through applications, CVs, notes of interest, especially considering the number of apprentices you have at Drax. How important are apprentices to your organisation?
Yeah, apprentices are massively important. So at the moment, across the Drax group in the UK, we have 120 apprentices, and we're looking to take on another 22 apprentices, 5 of which are in Scotland. So as Drax is expanding and has an ageing workforce, our apprentices are really important. And as such, and Danielle's one of them, we really value them. So we have things like an annual awards event where all of our apprentices from across the business come and attend. And one of our senior leaders in the business actually presents our apprentices with awards in each age category and each apprenticeship category. So, yeah, they're really important to us.
Thank you. And as a business, what do you look for in an individual when you're hiring them? Is it focused really on grades and qualifications, or is there another focus?
There is a part focus on grades and qualifications, but a lot of that depends on the apprenticeship that you're going into. So some apprenticeships have more stringent requirements than others. Um, but that's not the only thing, as you'll know, and the other panelists will know, that we really look for someone that is keen to learn and is showing a lot of potential. So, they've always, for example, if they're going into engineering, they've always been interested in fiddling with something mechanical or electrical. And they can demonstrate that and they can explain that in their own words. So, yeah, that real desire and that real passion coupled with the qualifications that they need. Having said that, Claire, we've got a real desire to also support everybody. So we really look after those people that perhaps are neurodivergent. We've got an apprentice, which Danielle knows, Ross in Scotland, and he's a great case study for someone who's severely dyslexic. So Ross, all throughout his schooling, had a one-to-one support tutor. That's the degree of his dyslexia. And we recruited Ross, and Ross, we're supporting him throughout his apprenticeship. So, if we have got parents of children out there that may have some form of learning challenge, then please don't see that always as a barrier.
Thank you, Louisa, and that is excellent to hear about the accessibility of your programs. And I think it's very important actually for people on the call to hear this, as often we think it's all about qualifications and grades and nothing else. However, it's very important to note that there are entry criteria for all apprenticeships, but often work experience, skills, and knowledge previously gained can count towards entry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Danielle, I'm going to move on to yourself just now, if I may. Where did you find out about your apprenticeship?
So I found out about my apprenticeship on the apprenticeship.scot website. I was looking for an apprenticeship after I decided to drop out of university when I felt that it wasn't for me anymore. And yeah, that website was the one that I used to apply for the job which I'm in now at Drax.
Excellent. And how did you apply for it? Was it through a website? Was it an application form? Did you have to submit a CV?
It was through the apprenticeship.scot website, and I uploaded a CV and then applied to the job advert for Drax.
Okay.
I heard back from the company and then had to go to the training centre in East Kilbride for an aptitude test and a short interview.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I was successful with them, I then went to my company on site for an interview with my line manager. And then once I was successful with that interview, I got a tour of the site just to make sure that it was definitely what I wanted to do.
Excellent. How did you find the process, all of this, doing this, because it was quite new? How was it?
Yeah, the process was easy enough. The website is really user friendly and straightforward to use, so that helped a lot. But also being prepared, so having my CV prepared prior to applying for apprenticeships really helped, and it made the application process a lot easier for all different types of apprenticeships.
Great. Thanks, Danielle. Sophie, can
Okay.
I ask you the same questions? Where did you find out about your apprenticeship?
I was actually the same as Danielle. I found out about mine through apprenticeship.scot too. I had just left school in 5th year. I was 16 and I wasn't sure if I wanted to either go to university or get an apprenticeship. So actively looking on apprenticeship websites, mainly apprenticeship.scot, and found one with Visit Scotland. I then went on to apply for it directly through their website.
Fantastic. And how did you find the process?
It was super, yeah. I thought the website was
Yeah.
really friendly. It's nice and it looks fun, it's exciting. So I think
Excellent.
it's great.
Thanks, Sophie. Carrie, if I can come back to you, of course, the hard work isn't over after the application or CV has been submitted.
True.
If you get called back for an interview, your focus immediately then turns to that. So, can you give us any hints and tips about how you should prepare for that interview?
Yeah, definitely. Uh, Danielle just touched on it as well, actually, that, reading over stuff beforehand. So she was saying about looking over things before she went back in. So that can be reading over the job description. Remind yourself of what you've applied for, especially if you're applying for more than one. It can be very difficult to remember, have yourself right and go, which interview am I going to? So just make sure and remind yourself, where are you going? Who's it with? Make sure that you are reading up about the company, because again, it comes back to that same with the CV. It's they want to feel like you actually genuinely want to work for them, and you do, because you've applied to work there, so you tend to genuinely want to work there. So reminding yourself of that, reading over your application, your CV. My World of Work, the career website for Scotland, is really good. It's got some really good interview tips. There's some like mock interview sort of bits that you can do, which are really helpful. You can also ask your careers advisor. So if you're in school, I've got quite a few. In fact, I've got someone next week coming in. They've got an interview for an apprenticeship with with Fife Council. So we'll be doing some interview prep, so you can ask for that, whether that's going through things together and having someone to kind of bounce back and forth with. You can also do that at home with your parent or carer, or with friends if they'll take it seriously. And we can also do mock interviews. I don't tend to do fully proper mock interviews with the people that I know quite well, because I feel like it's quite hard for them to take it seriously when it's with me, who they know. Whereas what I would do is I would get most schools have 2 careers advisors. So what I would say is they might organise you a mock interview with the other careers advisor, so you're not quite as familiar with them. So that can be really helpful as well. I'd also say about getting there. So preparing for getting there, make sure you know where it is. Now, do you know if it's online? Is it in person? If it's online, make sure you've got that house quiet. Make sure everyone knows not to make a peep, not to use the Wi-Fi, that they go take the dog a walk, that they just be little mice looking around, being very, very silent. If it's in person, make sure you know how to get there. Make sure you've got a couple of plans in case if you're getting a bus there or train, make sure you've got backups to it. Make sure you know, even do a practice run can be a really good thing to do, so that you know exactly how long it takes you to get there, because really the last thing you want to do is run late to an interview, because that's just the worst first impression. Yeah, and dress for the job. Lay your clothes out, make sure that everything's prepared, that you know exactly what you're wearing, that it's clean, that you're clean. And the night before, that I always say, set a set time that you're going to stop going over everything, because it's so easy to just get yourself in a panic and be very, very stressed out. So night before, do something you enjoy. If that's walking the dog, listening to some music, reading a book, watching a telly show, get a nice early night and get yourself fresh and up early. Even if your interview's not on until the afternoon, get yourself up and ready, and yeah, get yourself going for it.
Excellent, Carrie. Lots of top tips there, guys, for the actual interview as well, from Carrie. So that's fantastic. Louisa, if I could come to you and ask, what is the interview process at Drax like?
Yeah, so it depends. We've got openings at both a modern apprenticeship level and a graduate apprenticeship level. And this year they're in engineering. So we've got 3 modern apprenticeship vacancies and 2 graduate vacancies. So it depends slightly depending on the level of the candidate. But if it was a modern apprentice, for example, initially they would have to apply online. Now, I know there's been quite a lot of talk about CVs. We've moved away a little bit from CVs, and we have an application form. But that's not to say you don't need a CV, because all of the information you put in the application form, you will take from your CV. And I think one of the reasons as a company we've done that is for equality, to create a level playing field for people, that they will send the same information in, whereas a CV might vary depending on the support that someone has been given to create and generate that CV. So yeah, have a CV ready so you can then fill in our application form. That's really the first stage. And for example, if we have 3 vacancies, which we do for modern apprenticeships in engineering, we'll probably get about 100 applicants, to give you an idea. So what we'll do is we'll sift through those, have a read of all of those application forms. And really it's all about how much detail that person's put in. Do they meet our entry criteria? Do they seem really keen? What have they done in the past to demonstrate their interest in that particular career path? And we then make some assessments based on their application. So the application stage is really key. So we always say to parents and applicants, you know, get someone else to read through your application, get someone to have a look over it. So we'd take those 100 applications and we'd whittle those down probably to about 50. And then from those 50, we may invite them to one of our training centres, as Danielle said, to the East Kilbride Training Group Association Centre. And then they would do a brief interview with those candidates, and they may give them some testing. And that might be testing on numerical or verbal testing, or some specific engineering tests, online tests, and an interview. And there may also be some form of group exercise. So the scores then from that form of assessment centre or that interview will then be whittled down, and we'll probably take about 12 people to the site we're hiring for. And we usually take, for every position, we'd probably fully interview about 4 people. So that's the ratio, about 1 to 4 would go to site, as Danielle did. She went to our Deldowie site, had a look round, because also in an engineering site, we want to see people, how they react to that, how they feel about that. Some are dirty, aren't they, Danielle? And some are cleaner than others. And some are huge. The site nearest me, Selby, in North Yorkshire, is massive. So, you know, we really want to see what the applicants, how they react, how they respond to that. And then we'll do a further interview. And then at that point, we'll make our final decision.
Okay, thank you. That was really, really clear. From Drax's perspective then, do you have any tips that you would share on how to handle an interview?
Yes, I think be prepared is one of the most important things. And I think we've touched on some of these things already. So do your research on the company, not just the information about the history and the current strategy of the company, but what the people like that work there, what's the culture, what it's like to work there. Read through the application again and pull out the key points that you think Drax will be looking for, or that employer would be looking for. The sort of skills, the knowledge, and the behaviours. So the way in which we would expect you to work. And then think about some questions that you might be asked that would test you on those skills and that knowledge and those behaviours. And like we said earlier, you know, get lots of sleep. You may want to bring along with you your predicted grades or your actual grades or any other certificates. I've got teenage children. I bought them a folder to put all their certificates in, and that can be from Duke of Edinburgh to swimming badges to whatever that might be, to work experience certificates. So bring that along with you to the interview. That's really important. And really just be yourself. So there's a lot in the workplace now about bringing your authentic self to work. So we don't really want to see a pretend version of you. We want to see the real version of you. What are you really like? as a person, and what are you really passionate about as a person? So those would be my kind of top tips.
Excellent, Louisa. Thanks so much. Danielle, I'm going to come to you. Now, obviously, you're with Trax Group and your colleague is also on the call. But I wondered how you found the interview, and did you do any prep work beforehand, much like Louisa said?
Yes, so there was two interviews, as Louisa's mentioned. There was the first interview at the training centre, and there was an aptitude test, and they went quite well. The interview at the training centre was mostly based off my CV, so it was talking about my personal experiences, what work experience I had for engineering, and the person that I'd done work experience in Rolls-Royce and the person that was interviewing me had worked in Rolls-Royce, so that was quite a good common thing that we could talk about. So I think that definitely helped having that work experience behind me.
Hmm.
I then went to the company for the site, sorry, at the company for an interview, and yeah, it was quite scary going into a big site, a big fuel plant, and hearing all these machines and seeing everything. But being prepared definitely made me feel more at ease. I got given questions that were likely to be asked, so I had prepared answers for them. And then I also done my own research on the company to take in a little bit of information so I could maybe surprise them about stuff that I had researched, and that definitely helped as well.
Well done. Sounds excellent. Sophie, coming to yourself at Visit Scotland, how did you find your interview, and did you do any prep work beforehand?
Yeah, so initially I got obviously applied with my CV and a written why I wanted to work for the company kind of paragraph. And then I got a phone call letting me know that I'd been asked for an interview, but also to give me like a technical test to complete before the interview, related to the kind of work that I would be doing when I started my apprenticeship. So then at my interview we talked about that. That would obviously be something I'd prepared beforehand, but I'd also had a look at LinkedIn and Glassdoor, like Carrie mentioned in the chat box, just to kind of see what the employees there were thinking of the company. I also made sure that my CV was kind of specific to the company so that it was stuff I could talk about. My actual interview was mainly my past experiences or school experience and what skills I had that would suit the job role. So yeah, I did a bit of preparation, but I thought it went quite well, yeah.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. Louisa, if I can come back to you for a second, can you give me a few examples of where individuals have really stood out for you in interviews that you've previously conducted?
Yeah, I think the main individuals that stand out for us are those that have demonstrated in some way their real passion for the subject. So engineering is quite a practical subject. And we have a lot of people that they don't have to have done anything particularly fancy, but they may have done something in the engineering world. So for example, they may have tinkered with their granddad's car. They may have spent time with their father or grandfather or a friend or a relative, just looking at the mechanics of a car. Or if they're in the electrical field, they might have built something themselves. So we have in the past as well asked people that are coming for interview to bring a little project that they've worked on with them. And I've sat in on some of these interviews, and it's been amazing what the young people have brought. And they would be an engineering type project. And we've had some absolutely amazing things brought in to really demonstrate that. Obviously, if you've done a foundation apprenticeship, then you may have done that as part of your foundation apprenticeship, but then you may not have done. But that would really just demonstrate your passion from a young age.
Great, thank you. It's always great to hear examples like this. But of course, there are things to avoid when going to
Yeah.
interview. And I wonder if I can come to Carrie and ask, what should one avoid when applying for an apprenticeship, Carrie?
Oh, it's a tricky one. Yeah, so there's always going to be things to avoid. I would say there's things to avoid both when it comes to your actual application and to your interviews. There's lots of things to avoid. I would think most of them are quite common sense. So just bunging the same CV in for everything. Don't do that. It's not gonna look like you've spent time on it. You'll maybe save yourself 10, 15 minutes per application, but you are less likely to be invited in for an interview. Whereas if you spend that little bit of extra time, that's going to make you stand out so much more, especially when you look at certain councils or certain companies and organisations. They will have more than one thing up at a time. So for example, I'm in Fife, the Fife Council craft trade apprenticeships were up recently. So there was plasterers, there was glaziers, there was stonemasons, there was electricians. So there was all sorts of different ones. Now, you don't have to just apply for one trade. That's totally fine to apply for more than one. They're not going to look at it and go, oh, they've applied for 5. They obviously don't know enough. The thing that would bring you down is the same application for all 5. If you change it up and say, well, I'm interested in this because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm interested in this because of X, Y, and Z, then it just makes you stand out that little bit more. Another thing to avoid is there's people don't read the job description properly, and then you don't mention something that's really important. So putting that in there, not linking your skills and strengths and experience. So that's people, being a bit shy or feeling a bit like they don't want to blow their own trumpet, so they don't link things properly. So just really big yourself up. The employers, they want you to be passionate, they want you to be excited about it, they want you to be really, really like over the top with how much you want to do it, because that's who they want in the job, someone who really, really wants to do it. Another thing to avoid, don't apply for something you don't want to do. I know that sounds really silly to even have to say to that, but I have had so many young people that I've spoken to who have kind of been thinking, well, I'm going to apply for this because my friends are applying for it, or my parent or carer says that I should do this, but I don't really know if that's what I want to do. If you really don't want to do it, that's going to come through, and it's a waste of your time and it's a waste of the employer's time. So don't apply for something if you don't actually want to do it. Not including all the information that they've asked for. So if they've asked for specific things, say it, because straight away that's them going, well, they didn't read the job description. They didn't read our application form correctly because they've not told us if they are PVG checked. They've not told us if they have a driver's license or if they're working towards it, things like this. Making sure you give enough information. Don't just pay it lip service. So don't say, I would be a great engineer because I'm practical. What does that mean? You give examples, really give them examples. That could be from your school subjects, it could be from a foundation apprenticeship, from your hobbies, from your interests. Even if you've not done lots to do with it, there's a reason you're interested in it. Share that with them. That's what they want to know. And in interview, I am the biggest advocate for, I think a lot of times people are so anxious that they get themselves really, really worried. And I know for a fact, I came up as a careers advisor, I came through the apprenticeship route, so I'm very passionate about it. But in my original interview, I was so nervous. And I did actually just say, I'm so sorry, I'm really nervous. Can you ask me that question again? That's totally fine. So avoid just talking for the sake of talking, which you probably think Carrie should stop talking for the sake of talking. So that's that's my main things to avoid.
Nice segue, Carrie. Lovely. That's an amazing piece of insight for us, though, Carrie. Thank you. And I'm sure everyone on the call has noted that down. I'm going to come lastly to Sophie, just to ask, Sophie, can you tell me who was your biggest influence when you were applying for your apprenticeship?
That would have to be my older sister, actually. She started her apprenticeship 2 years before I did. She's 2 years older than me. And she did a graduate apprenticeship in engineering. So she was getting her degree at the same time as working. And I was so inspired. She was earning and getting a qualification. What better would you want? So yeah, definitely inspired to follow in her footsteps.
Oh, that's lovely. That is really great. And can I ask Danielle, what about you? Who was your biggest influence when you were applying for your apprenticeship?
So I would have to say my parents. When I left school, I went down the route of going to university for 2 years, and that was at the time what I thought I wanted until I actually done it and realised that it wasn't the environment for me. And my parents supported my decision to leave university and go down the route of looking for an apprenticeship, which was never really in school. offered to me because I was more looking into the sights of going to university. And I wish that it had been something that I'd looked into because it's been the best experience of my life and would have saved me 2 years. But I'm happy that I done both and got to find out a bit more about myself and kind of learning that I am suited to. And it's definitely through the route of an apprenticeship, and for me personally, not through the route of going to university.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, I imagine that your big sister Sophie and your parents Danielle are extremely proud of you because you've done a fantastic job coming on the panel for us tonight and outlining your experience and your journey to date. So this has been fantastic. The whole panel has been tremendous. Thank you so much. And hopefully it's helped a lot of people at home who have been watching. So we're going to move on now to frequently asked questions part of our presentation. So I'm going to ask my colleague Lynn if she would mind coming on to help me do some of the frequently asked questions that we at Skills Development Scotland get on a regular basis. And obviously, because tonight is all about apprenticeships, it would be quite good to have a look at some questions that have come in. How are you doing, Lynn? Nice to see you.
Hi Claire, how are you? No, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm pleased to be here, and it's a great idea. We can work through some of the frequently asked questions while we do have some time. There has been some questions coming through in the chat, so we've got very engaged parents and carers just now, and young people, I'm sure, watching. Our first frequently asked question that we have is, can my young person go from a foundation or modern apprenticeship to a graduate apprenticeship?
Yes, absolutely. So if your young person has completed a foundation apprenticeship or a modern apprenticeship in the same subject area, they can apply to become a graduate apprentice studying the same subject if there are vacancies available and that they meet the entry requirements. It's also possible to progress onto a graduate apprenticeship if they have completed a previous apprenticeship in a different subject area. So graduate apprenticeships are designed so that individuals do not repeat previous learning and they recognise any prior learning or experience. Hopefully that's helpful.
Fantastic, thank you, Claire. Another question we get asked as well is, what employment terms and conditions can individuals expect whilst on a modern or graduate apprenticeship?
Okay, well, as I said earlier in the presentation, modern and graduate apprenticeships are classed as employed status, and as such, these individuals would be bound by the terms and conditions of their employer. Now, this will vary from organisation to organisation as you would expect, but you can find out more about individuals' rights on the My World of Work website, and this will be sent in the pack following the call. Have we got time for any more questions, Lynn?
I think we have time for just one more, if that's all right, Claire.
Absolutely.
Now, this question, we do get asked this quite a lot, and it's probably, I'm going to guess, majority the young people that ask this question, and it's, how much does a modern apprentice get paid?
Well, it's a very important question indeed, and it would be the question I would ask. And I'm not a young person; I'm a very old lady. But what I can tell you is salaries range depend on what the employer set. However, there is a minimum salary which increases based on the age or stage of your apprenticeship. You'll find out more information on the UK government's website, and that link to that website will be posted in the pack following the call. It's worthwhile noting that some vacancies on apprenticeship.scot that we spoke about earlier will also show you the current salaries that are offered. Okay, no more questions, Lynn. We're not squeezing any more in.
Would you like one more then?
I think we could do it.
Let's do one more. Okay. I'm just going to skip just to this question because we had one, and Louisa had mentioned, obviously, if someone needs kind of additional support help. So another question we do get frequently asked is, do you need to be a specific age to apply for a modern or graduate apprenticeship?
Good question. You can apply if you're 16 or over. Some vacancies might be for ages 18 and over, and that's usually because of health and safety requirements that, for example, being on a shop floor in a big engineering environment, you may not be able to go there when you're 16, but some vacancies might target a specific age, but that'll be made very, very clear in the vacancy post. Hopefully that's helpful.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Claire.
Excellent. Okay, dokie. So now let me remind you of the places that you can go to find out more about Scottish apprenticeships, where you can get support and where you can apply for vacancies. As you're more than aware, we've spoken about apprenticeships.scot this evening, and you can visit us at www.apprenticeship.scot. This will list most Scottish apprenticeships that are available under the vacancy search. However, it's important to remember to also look on other sites such as employer websites, job search and social media websites, as well as speculative applications to employers. There's also lots of useful information and support for you and your young person on Careers website, My World of Work, www.myworldofwork.co.uk. And SDS have careers advisors in every state school in Scotland, offering support through one-to-one appointments, group work and drop-ins. This is all designed to help your young person with their career planning. You can contact your school to find out who your child's careers advisor is and how to contact them. Additionally, we offer an all-age career service across our 65 centres across Scotland. You can book an appointment here by contacting our helpline on 0800 917 8000. Please don't worry if you aren't able to take all of these details down, as we will send them out along with our short survey about the webinar you've all been on tonight, which we'd be really grateful if you would consider completing, please. So, we are about to come to the end of our webinar. I'd like to thank you all so much for listening. We hope that you found the session as helpful as we've enjoyed doing it. All that's left to say is that on behalf of Skills Development Scotland, Lynn, our panel members and myself, thank you for joining us this evening and have a great night. Take care.